What you need to remember about payment terms are that you, the supplier, the person that's going to be delivering the service, you dictate the payment terms. The customer doesn't dictate the payment terms to you. Whoa, we actually made it in. I just walked 2 hours in the snow to get here to film this. Look at that sign. Can you make it out? It says snow and ice. No shit, snow and ice. Great response from last night's vlog. It was an absolutely wild day in the snow. I think it was probably like 6-7 inches thick by last night. We were still digging people out where I live at like 10 PM. But it was good to get an impromptu video out for you guys. And here's another one in response to what we were talking about yesterday, which is the business finances side of the creative industry. Somehow Liam managed to get in the studio yesterday and today, and when he was here yesterday by himself because no one else could get in, all I could think about was that Pablo Escobar meme, you know, he was just sat there by himself. Liam, what was it like yesterday without me?
It was super lonely. Sat here by myself. It wasn't lonely. I enjoy my own company.
I tend to think of myself as a one-man wolf pack.
So I had to get a taxi in, but the guy couldn't even get me all the way. He had to drop me off at the bottom of the road. Then he got stuck in the middle of the road at the cross section. So I had to jump out and push him out. Couldn't speak English. And I was like, "Do you want me to help?" And he was like, "I'm stuck." He just kept saying, "I'm stuck," and I was like, "I'm in the car, but yeah, I know you're stuck." I had to push him. I was like horizontal with my feet on the curb, trying to fucking push him out, and he weren't going anywhere. So then I had to walk up, and by the time I got in, stick the fire on, and set up that shot out the window, and in the space of like half an hour, 3 cars crashed on the way just on that road there. two of them curbed. One of them curbed into one side of the road, and I was like, I heard it, so I went to go look, and I was like, and as he was coming out, he'd overshot it and gone into the other side of the curb, and he ended up just fucking getting out of his car and walking off.
That was pretty much me yesterday with both cars stuck on estate, so they're still sat there now after walking in this morning.
He curbed it so bad that I heard it from here.
Wow.
And it was all the way down there.
It's a good day then, yeah?
So I'm glad I don't drive. if I'd passed by now, I would have been fucked.
It definitely sounds like he had fun anyway yesterday, just watching people crash and get stuck everywhere. He even had time to set up that time lapse, so good on him, eh? Anything for the vlog. Right, so let's get down to the main topic of this video, terms and conditions for creatives, freelancers, business owners. And this is pretty much like across the board, whether you're a creative or not, like this is like standard stuff. What you need to be looking at if you're a business owner. Terms and conditions are a legal agreement written up by a solicitor or a lawyer that states your terms and conditions of work. They normally sit alongside like a letter of agreement or a service agreement, which you'd agree with a client before commencement of any work. Some people don't like contracts, some do. The main thing to think about when you've got a contract with a client is that it's a safety net for the both of you. It protects both parties for the job, so that no one gets like stung or is left out of pocket if a job goes wrong or something untoward was to happen. I was literally on a call yesterday, on a Zoom call after the vlog with a potential client who said that he doesn't like contracts, he doesn't like service agreements, because he said that when you have to refer back to the terms and conditions, the relationship's broke down and it's game over, which I do agree with. If you've got to refer back to your terms and conditions, something's probably going wrong. However, I have had it with clients where we've had to refer back to terms and conditions before, where we've entered into a longer term agreement and they've wanted to cut it short. But us as a company, we've put stuff in place to support the length of the contract. So we can't just end it there. We couldn't just terminate the contract because we'd already upscaled and upskilled to service that particular client. So we had to come to an agreement how they can buy out of that contract and we're not taking the hit on losing out on the cash, which we'd already put a lot in to actually service the length of that contract. So I can see it from both sides, but the main part of that is actually maintaining the relationship with the client and actually building a relationship. As with any relationships, it's a two-way thing. And when you're meeting new people on a daily basis, different business owners, those that want to engage in work with you, it's nice to take people at face value, but sometimes they might not be as honest as you possibly could be. That's where the protection of terms and conditions comes into play, and we'll talk about the ones that we use in a little while. So many freelancers that I've met and business owners don't like to talk about money and payment terms. What you need to remember about payment terms are that you, the supplier, the person that's going to be delivering the service, you dictate the payment terms. The customer doesn't dictate the payment terms to you. So a lot of freelancers will put their invoices in and they'll say 14-day terms, but some larger organizations might be like, well, we only do payment runs at the end of the month, and that could be 30 days away. And that's not what you agreed or what you'd set out in your initial agreement. So this is where cash flow becomes a real problem for freelancers, because then that 30-day term might get missed, and it might miss the second run, and before you know it, you've basically credited a company for 90 days, and you're an absolutely small firm that relies on that cash flow to earn a living and to pay your rent and your bills. So the payment terms are dictated by you, the supplier. Obviously, as you are in a relationship with your client, communication is key, which we spoke about yesterday. So you can come to an agreement with the supplier as to when invoices will be paid and what can align for both of you to make both parties happy. So you may extend your terms from 14 days to 30 to align with theirs, or vice versa. But so long as it gets paid on time and you both respect each other's, I want to say demands, but you both respect each other's time and money and processes for each individual business. And I say that particularly with one of my friends in mind who's a freelancer, and he's terrible for not putting his invoices in on time with companies, or he'll do a job and then invoice at the end of it, or 2 or 3 weeks later after they've already completed it, and then it goes onto a 30-day term because that's what they do and not what he does, and before you know it, he's done a job and not been paid for it within 3 months. And obviously then you run into cash flow problems, and that's where 90% of small businesses fail, is because of cash flow problems, not actually because they're bad at business. All that being said, if you are a supplier and you say my payment terms are X, 14 days, 30 days, and the client says, no, I don't agree to those terms, or can we have 90 days, or can we have a bit longer? That's kind of a red flag. Same can be said if you dictate a deposit before a booking. If a potential customer or client says, no, I'm not paying a deposit, huge red flag, because if they're not willing to pay a deposit, what are the odds that they're going to pay the final invoice? So if that happens, walk away. It's definitely never worth the money when you're having to chase it down the line, because that's time times money. Like the time that you're investing in chasing invoices and all that sort of stuff is time that you could be investing in other clients or creating content for yourselves to better and grow your business. One other point is that you can credit check businesses. So if you're considering entering into an agreement with a company or a client, you can credit check that person and find out how honest they are. So if you've had a meeting or an introductory call and a couple of alarm bells are ringing, always go with your gut. That's one point. But if you feel a little bit uneasy, or it's a larger project that you're taking on and you're a bit, oh, is this right? Is it wrong? You can do a credit check and find out what the state of play of the business is. So bear that in mind. So our terms and conditions for my company, even for when I do brand deals with companies, I dictate the same payment terms. So we've got a bunch of different payment terms depending on what job we're taking on. But 99% of the time, if we're going to do a job, any job, we ask for 50% upfront. So we'll set out a letter of agreement. What are the deliverables of the project? It's X, Y, and Z. The overall project is going to cost X amount. We want 50% upfront, and that's kind of non-negotiable. If you're not going to pay that, you're probably not going to work with us. It's as simple as that. It was much easier back in the day when it was just me and a camera, because you can be a little bit more flexible. You might have a bit of savings to tie you over. But when you've got 4 full-time members of staff, all this equipment, office, studio, all the staff need paying on time at the end of the month. Rent needs to be paid. So we need to maintain, as I said yesterday, a robust cash flow forecast. And with that comes the 50% deposit, which is written into our terms and conditions and letter of agreement. Then when the project is delivered, we will invoice for the final 50% within a certain period. It could be 7 days, could be 14 days, could be 30 days, depending on the project. And that's that. There have been some jobs, larger jobs, where we've been delivering in the moment. So for example, we went to the Badminton World Championships and we were shooting and recording and editing and delivering each night because it was a live event. And because of that, we had to put a big crew together, a big team together. So for that job, we asked for 100% upfront. So before we even arrive on the job, we want to be fully paid so that we can then distribute that money to the freelancers, to the extra people that we've got on board, to build up that team, rental of equipment. And that's just the way it is. That's the game. The main part of this is don't be scared to set out payment terms in advance. Always talk to customers about what your deliverables are, what the agreement is on payment, and get a contract signed if you're ever worried. The contract we've got for my production company, it cost us probably about £1,000 to get written up. That was by a fully qualified solicitor. All this I'm giving you is just advice. It's a solicitor that wrote up our terms and conditions, but it's definitely a safety net and it's got us out of trouble quite a few times. So I hope that's been informative, and if it helps one person, I'll be happy. Never be scared to ask for what you're worth, or don't be scared to ever put an invoice in, and if people don't pay it on time, chase them down for it. You've got to pay your suppliers, you've got to pay your overheads. It's just part of the game. Unfortunately, in the UK, I know that late invoice payment seems to be just a thing that happens, but if you get some solid terms and conditions in place, it doesn't have to happen for your business. There will always be times where it could happen, but if you get everything in place, it should be fine. If you did enjoy this video about a little bit more of the finance side, I'm going to try to do a little bit more, educate people on the businessy side of the creative industry. So be sure to drop me a like. Leave a comment below, let me know what you think. Have you got different terms? How do you run your business? Subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back next week with some more videos. Thanks for watching.